it was a lawyer who first gave a job to Raman to do the sign painting of his name board for his new office. He would have thought that Daisy is upset about his behavior, and maybe that is the reason she might have complained to the police, and it irritated him, and he thought that he gave a lame excuse that he has to go to the office so that he can avoid his auntie asking further questions. Raman meets his old friend Gupta at the hotel, Boardless Hotel. Gupta says that people all over the country value superstitions and myths. Hello everyone, myself B. Shobharani, faculty in English, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence. Once again, welcome you all to Session 7, Unit 1 for 4th Sem BCom English students, novel The Painter of Science by R.K. Narayan. In today's session, I'll be continuing about the pages from 68 to 86 of the novel. In my previous session, let us have a recap as to what did I explain in my previous session. I was explaining about the summary and analysis of the pages 37 to 67 of the wonderful novel The Painter of Science by R.K. Narayan. In today's session, I'll be explaining about the summary and analysis of the novel The Painter of Science by R.K. Narayan from pages 68 to 86. Moving on to the summary or explanation of the pages further, back in Malgudi, Raman is filled with a sense of dread as he goes about his daily errands. So we all know that Raman, a very perfectionist sign painter, is not able to get sufficient money for the work what he does because he is not paid for his hard work by his customers. So he was running with lot of daily errands. Back in Malgudi, Raman is filled with a sense of dread as he goes about his daily errands. He keeps waiting for the police to arrive at his door and arrest him. He is afraid that Daisy made good on her promise to report him to the police and that it is only a matter of time before they locate him. He talks with his aunt and reads in his room. He becomes somewhat sedentary and spends a lot of time around the house. As we know that he was getting closer to Daisy and Daisy was not liking that close movement of Raman and she said that she is going to report to the police. So Raman thought that definitely she would have reported to the police and he was waiting at his door for the police. So back in Malgudi, Raman is filled with a sense of dread as he goes about his daily errands. He keeps waiting for the police to arrive at his door and arrest him. He is afraid that Daisy made good on her promise to report him to the police and that it is only a matter of time before they locate him. He talks with his aunt and reads in his room. He becomes somewhat sedentary. So he just remains in the room and spends a lot of time around the house. After 8 days of this, he decides to finally to go out. So after 8 days, he decides to go out. He gets dressed and goes to a boardless hotel. So after 8 days of staying at home, he decides finally to come out and he gets dressed and goes to the boardless hotel. There, he encounters an old friend, that is Gupta, and they chat over coffee. So in that boardless hotel, Raman comes across with his old friend, that is Gupta, and they chat over a cup of coffee. He talks about his strange trip with Daisy and the family planning campaign. So he tries to disclose what he has come across with Daisy's closeness and how he spent his time with her on the trip for the villages on a family planning campaign to Gupta. Gupta says that people have many superstitions all over the country and that social workers should bear this in mind when they go about these informational campaigns. So he says, yes, of course, there's a lot of superstitions all over the country and it is very important for such people who create awareness about these superstitions should bear in mind that they go about these informational campaigns. It's very important to create awareness about all these traditions and superstitions. So Raman agrees and feels a sense of normalcy return to his life. So when he spoke, he was not in good mood as Daisy had told that she's going to report to the police. But when he meets his old friend Gupta and tells all about his friendship with Daisy and all that, then he feels a little bit relaxed after he confronts everything about Daisy to Gupta. He leaves the hotel in good spirits. On his way home, Raman runs into the lawyer who says he has opened a new office. So, on his way home, he goes to the lawyer who says he has opened a new office. When Raman asks who drew his sign, he said he got it from one of Raman's competitors. So, in the beginning, it was a lawyer who first gave a job to Raman to do the sign painting of his name board for his new office. But the lawyer did not like the work of the signboard of made by Raman. So next time when he visits his office, he says that he got his new signboard done. And when Raman asked who did it, he said it one of Raman's competitors. This bit of information irritates Raman greatly. So this, annoyed Raman because who was a perfectionist, who did his work to the excellent manner, but yet he was not paid for the good work what he did by the lawyer. So this annoys him and irritates him. Later, Raman is accosted by a police inspector. He feels terrified. So then he comes across a police inspector. Then he feels afraid. But he thought definitely Daisy would have complained about him to the inspector. So on his way home, Raman runs into the lawyer who says he has opened a new office. When Raman asked who drew his sign, he said he got it from one of Raman's competitors. This bit of information irritates Raman greatly. Later, Raman is accosted by a police inspector. He feels terrified. The police inspector says he has been looking for him but keeps getting interrupted before he can explain why. So, the police inspector says that he has been looking for him and but keeps getting interrupted before he can explain why he has come all the way. They go to the station together. So, the police inspector takes along Raman to the police station. But Raman is allowed to leave as the police have other matters to attend to. So he is afraid of what will happen next. So after that time, they say, no, we have some other work. Yes, now we can leave the police station. 15 days elapse. So 15 days gets over and eventually Raman resumes his old schedule. So now after 15 days, he gets back to his old reschedule of doing his work. So he starts working again and finds that his old pesky clients are suddenly grateful for his work. Then he gets to know that his old customers or clients who did not pay him well for the work what he did will find, are grateful for his work. So they may get to know that, yes, of course, when compared to all other people who do the signboards, I think Raman is the best one who does all the signboards in a perfect manner. So then one day, Daisy surprises Raman by appearing at his doorstep. So one fine day, Daisy comes to Raman's house. They chat for a little while and it quickly becomes clear that Daisy isn't upset with him and was hoping to see him again. So then Raman gets to know that he would have thought that Daisy is upset about his behavior and maybe that is the reason she might have complained to the police. But when Daisy comes to the Raman's house and she doesn't have any issues with she is not having any problem with Raman. Daisy isn't upset with him and was hoping to see him again. She says that she had been preoccupied after the written report of her campaign. So she says once she came back along with Raman to Malgudi, she was occupied with some other work and that was the reason why she could not meet Raman. Together they walk to the creek in his backyard. So they just walk around in the backyard and dip their toes in the water. So 15 days elapse and eventually Raman resumes his old schedule. He starts working again and finds that his old pesky clients are suddenly grateful for his work. Then one day, Daisy surprises Raman by appearing at his doorstep. They chat for a little while and it quickly becomes clear that Daisy isn't upset with him and was hoping to see him again. She says that she had been preoccupied after the written report of her campaign. Together they walk to the creek in his backyard and dip their toes in the water. Raman confesses that he loves Daisy and she says he's just repeating phrases he doesn't mean. So he says he tries to confess his love for Daisy. He adamantly denies this. Then Daisy says that he doesn't mean what exactly he wants to say to Daisy. He adamantly denies that, no, I am in love with you. He takes hold of her hand. So then he takes hold of her hand. They talk more and she reveals to him that she had an unhappy childhood in a large family. So then she says, no, when I was a child, I had a very unhappy childhood. When her childhood days were not that good. And when she came of age, she was nearly forced into an arranged marriage. So when she attained the marriage age, she was forced into an arranged marriage, which she did not like. When she met her prospective husband, she scared him off by speaking directly to him. So when she was speaking to her prospective, that is husband to be, then she spoke to him very directly to him. Her family got extremely angry with her for not trying harder to woo him. So instead of wooing that person to marry her, she just scared him away. So that family, that is her family father, did not like about it. This disturbed her greatly and informed her decision to leave them. Then she thought, okay, fine, I have to leave my family, because she was not happy with her parents because they were forcing her into an arranged marriage, which she did not like. So Daisy was a lady of modernity, having modern thoughts, and she was not believing in traditions and customs as well in superstitions. So Raman confesses that he loves Daisy, and she says he is just repeating phrases he doesn't mean. He adamantly denies this. He takes hold of her hand. They talk more and she reveals to him that she had an unhappy childhood in a large family. When she came of age, she was nearly forced into an arranged marriage. And when she met her prospective husband, she scared him off by speaking directly to him. Her family got extremely angry with her for not trying harder to woo him. This disturbed her greatly and informed her decision to leave them. She leaves Raman's house abruptly when she realizes that it has gotten late. So when she goes to Raman's house and she was talking to him for a while, and after that she realizes that it is getting late. Then Raman sees that his aunt is making dinner. Then Raman's aunt was making dinner. He tries to figure out how to stop her from asking questions about his love life. So then his aunt, who's a lady of tradition and custom and who has a lot of knowledge about myths and legends, was continuously asking about his love life to Raman. He makes some casual comments about needing to go to an office the following day to prevent her from speculating about him. So she was continuously asking about Daisy and his love life, and Raman was not liking that, and it irritated him, and he thought that he gave a lame excuse that he has to go to the office so that he can avoid his auntie asking further questions. He thinks over what his next move should be. Then he thought, okay, now what should I do next, was his thought. The next day, Raman goes to the bangle seller and hangs up his sign. So again, as I said, the bangle seller wanted his board called Strictly Cash in blue letters, blue color. Previously, he had signed with red color, which he did not like the bangle seller. The man thanks him for his help, but then barks at his asking his price 75 rupees. So, he's happy with the work of Raman, but he has to pay what? He's asking the price 75 rupees. Eventually, they settle up and end up talking about Daisy. The bangle seller asked him to put in a good word with her, as she has offered to purchase a bulk order of bangles to distribute to the villagers as a reward for getting a birth control operation. So the bangle seller was happy and was talking about Daisy, and because the bangle seller asked him to put in good word with her, as Daisy had offered to purchase a bulk order of bangles to distribute to the women in the villages, because they had they agreed for that implementation of family planning methods and getting a birth control operation. So as a gift, she wanted to give bangles. So the next day, Raman goes to the bangle seller and hangs up his sign. The man thanks him for his help out, then barks at his asking price 75 rupees. Eventually, they settle up and end up talking about Daisy. The bangle seller asks him to put in a good word with her, as she has offered to purchase a bulk order of bangles to distribute to the villagers as a reward for getting a birth control operation. So let us move on to the analysis of the pages in this particular novel, The Painter of Signs by R.K. Narayan. So here, one very important thing that is portrayed by R.K. Narayan in this novel is tradition. So tradition is a theme in this section of this book. While talking to Raman at the board list, Gupta says that people all over the country value superstitions and myths. So one fine day when Raman meets his old friend Gupta at the hotel, Boardless Hotel, Gupta says that people all over the country value superstitions and myths. He says that social workers need to be aware of this and they undertake campaigns like Daisy's Family Planning 1. So he appreciates the work of Daisy, creating awareness in the women of the villages about the family planning methods and the birth control methods. So he praises the work of Daisy. So he says that tradition, as I said, tradition is a theme in this section of book. While talking to Raman at the Boardless Hotel, Gupta says that people all over the country value superstitions and myths. He says that social workers need to be aware of this as they undertake campaigns like Daisy's Family Planning 1. What he means is that while he may agree with people like Daisy, the weight of traditions and customs must be acknowledged by the activists who are attempting to change people's minds. So, definitely, he says that people like Daisy have to come forward with their campaigns so that to create awareness among the women and to change their mindset. So, the very important, the central theme of this novel is tradition versus modernity. It doesn't mean Daisy wants to live in a modern way of life, but she wants to change the mindset of the women from the tradition to modern so that they can be aware of the dangers that they are going to face if they have many children in this growing population. Then Gupta's comment is indicative of a somewhat moderate point of view that still embraces modern ideas but is respectful of past customs. So, Gupta is a person who also values traditions but at the same time wants the mindset of the people to change and to adapt to the family planning methods so that they can help in reducing the overpopulation or the growth of population in India. At the same time, it is easier for Gupta to feel this way as he has not suffered the consequences of a patriarchal society like Daisy has. So Daisy has undergone so much of pain when she was her childhood was not that good as her father was forcing her into a arranged marriage which she did not like. So Gupta has not undergone such situation in his life as Daisy has undergone. So his point of view seems reflective of the novel itself, as it does not dismiss the villages but still recognizes the harm caused by many of the traditions espoused in their town. So most of the people in the villages have a lot of superstitions and follow traditions which may affect their lives in the future course of time. That was the view about the traditions and customs according to Gupta. So, next, quality work. Very important theme that has been highlighted in this particular part of the novel is the quality work. Quality work is another major theme here. As Raman gets back to his old habits, he finds that his business is doing better. So now he feels that people, that is the customers who have assigned him the job of doing signboards, are happy with his work, quality work, and they are paying him well. So now his business is doing good when compared to the previous days. So, in his absence, his old customers came to realize their dependence on his services, and as a result, they have become more flexible about his approach to his work. So, now they know the value of Raman's work, quality of work. The customers have understood, and now they started approaching Raman for the work. While he still has to seek out payment, he finds it much easier. So, yes, of course, still they have to pay him properly for the work he has done, but compared to the previous days, now it is far better for him because they are paying him. So these scenes suggest that Raman has become slightly more savvy about meeting his customers' demands while not dropping to the standard of his work. So now he has understood what the customers want the signboards to be, and now he is, instead of sticking on his own thoughts of making a signboard, now he tries to understand and tries to fulfill the needs of the customers. So maybe that was also one reason why the customers started liking Raman's work, and that is how the quality of work is highlighted or portrayed in this particular novel of the pages of the book. In having to do such a high quantity of work in a short period of time, Raman appears to have let go of some of previous hang-ups about his customers. So this part of the book shows him striking a balance between the craft and business aspects of his trade. So now he is not sticking on to his own mindset of doing the work better, but now he is also balancing how he has to meet the demands of the customers so that he can get proper payment for the work what he does. Sexism is Also a significant theme in these pages, Daisy describes her unhappy childhood to Raman. She says she grew up in a crowded household and was not given a chance to be an individual. So she tries to explain her childhood to Raman, and she says her childhood was not that good, and she says she grew up in a crowded household and was not given a chance to be an individual. When she became old enough, her parents, particularly her father, emphasized to her that she needed to get married and do everything she could to find and secure a husband. So, that was how even the Daisy's parents were of traditional mindset, and they wanted her to get married at an early age, and that she has to find her husband and suitable husband for her. Then she was also told that she would have to do everything exactly as her husband asked her and to behave in a way that completely suited his wants and needs. So they say they were of a mindset of great tradition and values. So they said once you are married, you need to obey the whatever the husband tells you. You must be ready to do it. She found this disturbing. So she was a very individual woman, and she had individual thoughts about her life. So she was not liking this advice by her father that she has to marry the person whom her father selects. That is, she was not liking that arranged marriage. And not only that, she disliked the advice of her father that she has to obey the orders of her husband, as she was a woman of having great individuality. So she found this disturbing and ultimately scared off a suitor by speaking sharply to him. Suitor means the person who came to marry Daisy. So she scares him off when he comes, when they were talking together. So these unsettling early experiences show why she feels such a personal connection to her campaign, as she doesn't want women to continue to be indoctrinated into a life of dull, draining servitude. So this was also a reason for her to take up the job of doing campaigns about creating awareness in women, not to follow the traditions and customs and superstitions, and to live as an individual woman. So, or maybe this was also a reason for her to take up this campaign. And R.K. Narayan highlights the real consequences of this sexism and shows the pain that Daisy has harbored as a result of a stifling childhood. So, this gender norms was one which was affecting Daisy, and maybe that was highlighted in this particular novel by R.K. Narayan, that Daisy was a person who had that individuality mindset, and she wanted to overcome those gender norms. Another very important thing which we get to know in the pages of this particular novel, that love is a central theme in this section. Daisy criticizes Raman when he first admits his feeling for her. She does not deny that she might feel the same way, but says that she is merely acting out a romantic part that she has seen in movies and books. So actually, Daisy was not liking the behavior of Raman, because Raman was getting closer to her. So but yet she had some sort of feeling for Raman. Was like, he had that love for Daisy. So love is a central theme in this section as well. Daisy criticizes Raman when he first admits his feelings for her. She does not deny that she might feel the same way, but says that he is merely acting out a romantic part that he has seen in movies and books. Her comment indicates that she is suspicious of these declarations because she finds them to be disingenuous. She ends up being, to an extent, correct, as he quickly backtracks and mocks contemporary romantics in a continued effort to impress her. So, this is how Raman wants to impress Daisy so that she will start liking him. In this particular scene, R.K. Narayan subverts expectations and takes away the force of Raman's speech, suggesting that it may not be possible to put real love into words, as it would be too strong to neatly package in stock phrases like the ones he is uttering. In this part of the novel, Raman merely resumes routine of his old life before getting drawn back into Daisy's orbit once again. So he wants to stay away from Daisy later, so that he thought that maybe it is his love sickness for Daisy is obstructing his quality of work. He sees potential promise in his businesses again and feels his love sickness beginning to lapse, only for Daisy to disrupt this. Daisy's revelation of her personal history adds another dimension to her character, as the reader is able to see why she feels so personally attached to the issue of family planning and how her childhood has left her with serious emotional scars. Both characters seem to be moving towards a romantic connection, but there are clearly many fault lines between them. So, though they were getting closer to each other, but yet there were some, that clear understanding between them was not there. So, in this part of novel, Raman nearly resumes the routine of his old life before getting drawn back into Daisy's orbit once again. He sees potential promise in his business again and feels his love sickness beginning to lapse, only for Daisy to disrupt this. Daisy's revelation of her personal history adds another dimension to her character, as the reader is able to see why she feels. This is another very important thing that is portrayed in this novel by R.K. Narayan. Daisy's childhood also, how her bad childhood also might have changed her to become a very good campaigner to create awareness among the women in the villages about family planning methods. So, both characters seem to be moving towards a romantic connection, but there are clearly many fault lines between them. Hope you all have understood the pages of the novel The Painter of Science by R.K. Narayan. So, in my coming session, I'll be completing the explanation, that is, the summary and analysis of the remaining last pages of this novel from pages 87 to 111. Hope you all have understood the continuation of the explanation of the summary and analysis of the remaining pages of the novel The Painter of Science by R.K. Narayan. Thank you.